Welcome to the ITSP Magazine Podcast Network, a modern, innovative multimedia platform, broadcasting ideas and connecting minds. Every company has a story to tell, from the small startup to the large enterprise, and everything in between. This is one of them. We hope you enjoy this brand story conversation.
And hello everybody, you're very welcome to a new on-location episode. I'm coming to you from OWASP AppSec Global in Lisbon, and I'm joined by Francesco. How are you, Francesco?
Very good, Sean.
Good to see you again. It's been only a few weeks since we saw each other in London for InfoSec.
Lots of traveling, lots of conference, kicking in high gear.
I know, and you've been busy. I mean, you had great traffic in London, and I've seen the booth today. A lot of people coming by to talk to you, which is really cool.
Yeah.
And you're doing a book signing with Mr. Showstack as well, which is cool.
Yeah, we did our book, Showstack book, and yeah, it's great. It's a great conference. I'll also talk about AI. AI is great, very exciting. What you could potentially do. But from the floor, we still hear the same basic stuff. People are still struggling to do threat modeling. People are still struggling to do vulnerability prioritization, taking the vulnerability to the right team, scanning stuff. What do they need to do first? Like really the basic. Like AppSec is great, but it's still a problem of like, what do I do next? Or how do I develop an application security program?
And so there's two parts there, right? So well, maybe it's three parts. We want to embrace AI. Mm-hmm. We want to control AI, which may be two things in parallel or in concert. And then we want to utilize it to help those other two things.
Yeah.
Right?
So I will bucket it in using AI securely and using AI for security, right, when you can use it. Like how do you write the policy for AI, but also where AI is applicable. Like I spent a lot of time talking with a few of my friends that are really into AI and AI modeling. We do a lot of AI classification, generation, not purely LLM. Like LLM is the latest cool kid on the block that seems to solve all the problem in the world, but LLM are still developed with very generic training data. And we were discussing with our good friend Jim Manico, if you throw code at an LLM without a proper prompt engineering, it will invent library that you don't have, and you can fix with version that don't exist. So I think in cybersecurity, we're still trying to find the silver bullet that solves all the problem, because we don't want to admit that we need to go back and doing the basic stuff right. Knowing which team does what, where, attributing the right problem to the right team, and then maybe start doing fancy stuff like we do with Phoenix Security. Understanding the category of issues or what's inside a specific vulnerability, or how you can group together a bunch of vulnerability using our AI model and understanding what's more fixable and what's the biggest bang for bucks that you can deliver. Those are really cool use of AI, but still underpin the basics that we document very well in the book that we recently wrote.
And let's get to the book in a second, but I want you to articulate because I think we touched on this briefly in the last chat we had, but I want to spend maybe another minute on it here. Because if you have, 50 apps or something, and they all have the same vulnerability,
where do you focus?
Which one do you focus on, or do you fix one of them? So describe what you just told me about intelligently categorizing, prioritizing, assigning, all of that. Describe that process.
Yeah, normally in an organization you start with a whole bunch of problems that are all flat. All the teams that are looking at the same backlog of 1,000, 2,000, 3,000 problems, maybe 500 of those are critical. Where do you even start in that? And what usually happens is security team just throw a bunch of problems to every team and say, go and find your problems in this big pile of lists and
just work through it.
And work through it and try to find this. And by the way, do it in 3 days and do it and fix an upgrade. And a Spring Boot upgrade is not the same as a bumping up a library from one minor version to the other. So SLAs are kind of dead, but they still rely on the fact that me as a team, I need to look at a bunch of problems that belongs just to me. And that's a really hard problem to solve. And that's some of the stuff that we saw with Phoenix to actually help organization automatically and programmatically group things together by looking at different pattern of things that we solve.
So
it's still the basic. It's still attribution of the right teams to the right organization, because then after that you can do the other fancy stuff with Phoenix, like assigning business criticality, understanding how much money is costing you from a risk perspective, so associating the quantification from a risk perspective to the monetary value of how much a risk is your particular application. That's the whole fancy stuff, but still underpin a lot of the basic stuff that gets and helps security team scaling. Because right now all of this is done by security team or by development team, so it's an enormous waste of effort of really expensive resources.
Yeah, shoving stuff over the fence back and forth as well. So let's talk about the book now, because I presume in the book you talk through the right way to think about this.
Yeah.
Which I'm going to go out on a limb and guess that security and developer teams need to rethink how they approach this problem.
Absolutely, but you're missing one aspect, that is the management. So we keep on talking about shift left and shift right. We talk about shift everywhere. So shift up and shift down and do the dance around.
That's right. do the hokey pokey.
Exactly, but jokes aside, connecting business expectation to engineering practice around security, translating a risk objective into action for engineers and moving away from SLA into this method of works helps security engineers as well, suggesting how can you achieve your target faster and better by jumping on objectives that are not security objective, they're business objective about security. But until we translate that message of you have 10,000 vulnerability on your particular application that your application team or your development team maintains is exposing the organization for, 10 millions out of 100 millions, and because you have X amount of vulnerabilities, you're not going to be able to act or scale any application security problem. Right. And that's what we saw with the book. We have what we call a vulnerability maturity model that we map back to DSOM and SAM from OWASP project, so that first of all the model can collaborate and interoperate, but second of all you know how to mature a program of work by a vertical. And what that means is you can be very mature in scanning stuff, but you're very mature in how you attribute things to the right team or how you measure things. So you can move the dials in different directions, in different pillars of the framework, so that you can mature all of the aspects organically or inorganically of your program. But a lot of the program that we see and we saw in the past is, okay, you are in this step, now you need to move in this step, you need to do this 50 list of things, and that's not how organizations mature.
And so, yeah, I love this, because I mean, it's a result of disclosure, CVEs, right? It's all just lists, right? And so,
but it's not just one list. You have software security, you have container security, you have cloud security, you have threat modeling, you have pen testing, you have bug bounty, you have 15 lists that are correlated in different way, and not all the organizations work in the same way. Some organizations work with an AppSec team, they look at part of this problem, and a pen test team, they look at another part of this problem, and an operation team, they look at another part of this problem. As an attacker, I don't care about the business politics. I care about, look, I can enter here and then escalate with, breaching memory limits or escalating my authentication and get into the OS. And from the OS, I can get into the application because maybe the application is weak in terms of containerizing memory management. And that's some other stuff that we publish in the books about what are the patterns and the trends that you can fix that attackers are actually using and leveraging to develop things for the masses. Because from an attacker perspective, it's a software development shop. They need to choose the things that have the largest attack surface, so that when they build an attacker tools, it covers and hit the most of the organization. Because it's very rare that you're going to have a software team that develops something very, very specifically for them, unless you're Microsoft and the other place are Russia or some other very well-known ATP that really need to achieve something specific. But right now it's a software development shop, because organizations are complex, but vulnerability is still very simple.
So through Phoenix, you can provide that intelligent view.
We can provide organizational view, we can provide the graph of knowledge between your application and where they run, and offer developer teams exactly the list of things that they need to look at in a prioritized, contextualized way, but also in line with the risk expectation of executives. So as an executive, you can say, this is my baseline of risk, and this is where I want my organization to go. And then each application owner and each development team has a list of prioritized things that they need to address in line with executive expectations. So don't fix all of the CVE, fix only the more important CVE that are exploitable and the one that are actually in line with executive expectation.
Yeah. So how does somebody who has the book utilize the book to achieve the maturity that you're discussing?
Well, with Phoenix, we actually take you in a fast track of maturity. So we take you from having no scanners, no data, no visibility, to actually already to level 3 and level 4 of the maturity model, where we accelerate your scanning solution, we accelerate aggregation, contextualization, and the measurement that you can use. So it's a fast track way to higher maturity. Otherwise, you start developing your scanning methodology, then you start developing your aggregation and prioritization methodology, and then the metrics that really matter. So you can move kind of the dials from the less maturity, that is maturity number 0, to the most maturity, that is maturity number 5.
Are there organizations that are over mature?
There are organizations that are very mature from, for example, gating perspective. So they scan everything and they gate things, but they're not very mature about how they communicate that effort. So from an executive perspective, they don't see the value of that maturity. And that happens that if an executive change, that program will get deleted or it's difficult to maintain. So I've never seen an organization that is over mature on all of the aspects, but maybe very mature on one aspect and then lacking on the others.
Yeah, because I'm picturing it as either levers or dials or something. And
it's boxes that you move around on a vertical scale.
If I have every bit of intelligence, every list that you were describing earlier, and I just overload my team and have no view of the rest of the models, then I'm in bad shape.
Yeah. And if you overload your teams, chances are they will not talk to you, not do anything. But instead, if you drip feed 20 vulnerability on a weekly basis, then the chances of them operationalizing and fixing and consistently reducing your attack surface is much higher. And we've seen from data that the probability of exploitation of organizations that consistently reduce their external attack surface all the way to the internal one is very unlikely that they will get targeted. There is still the chance that they will get targeted, but they have their neighbors that don't reduce their attack surface fast enough. So why attack you?
Neighbor. Yeah.
It's always being faster than your neighbor. And I'm not suggesting to attack your neighbor,
No. So another topic that's come up here at OWASP in Lisbon is the concept or the topic of culture. Mm-hmm. And so we just talked briefly about overwhelming the team. How does what you do kind of help establish and improve the culture? Because you talked about SLAs and they're being unrealistic and different things require different times and different research. It can be very confusing and hard to measure, which then can be bit of a bummer
Yeah.
if you're a developer, right? Because you don't know, am I doing the right thing in the right way, in the right order?
It's not rewarding.
Right.
SLA are not rewarding. It's just a stick that security team used to use because they didn't know any better. And it doesn't align with how, first of all, engineers think and schedule their work. In a sprint planning mode, you don't look at SLA, you look at the number of things that you need to solve in the next week. And you don't look at them from a software perspective and then you lock in 15 other tools. Developers have their Kanban boards on Jira, on all of their backlog tools. They look at which thing do we need to prioritize. If we don't work in that way, chances are that security will never get into the line of priority for engineering. But as well, if we open 2,000 tickets, all of those tickets will go in the backlog and chances are that they will never get looked at. But if you build a culture of collaboration where security comes into the sprint planning and say, look, you have 20 tickets to be resolved, you have 50 other in the backlog, but if you focus on this particular library, on this particular upgrade, on these particular things, you actually can reduce your risk level the most. And that's rewarding because it's security coming into a sprint planning, helping engineers achieving that target faster, and everybody wins. Security wins because they are reducing consistently the attack surface. They're spending an hour of their time, half an hour of their time, creating value for the engineering community and creating a strong bond so that from a security champion perspective, the security champion is not the guy that goes into the list of problems and go and fix all of the problem. And nobody want to do an extra job for no pay, right? So security can come in and help and build a strong security cultures. And then with all of the data that we provide, for example, with Phoenix, security team can look at the patterns that each team are doing and performing and maybe customize training, customize security champion program, customize threat modeling so that they can really work on the issues that not in general, but on that particular moment in time, the team are facing and delivering value. But it's a data-driven decision methodology that if you don't have that data, unfortunately you guess and you provide generic input, and from generic input you get no answer.
Yeah, or you second guess and have to make decisions over and over and over.
Yeah, or probably make decisions on the wrong stuff.
Right.
Like if you provide training on cross-site scripting and the team is working on more modern languages, what's the point? It's like you're trying to secure something that doesn't exist anymore.
It's incredible. It's incredible. Well, Francesco, it's been great catching up with you. Is there anything else that you picked up on here at the conference you want to share before we wrap?
Yeah, I'm still surprised that we still work on the basic stuff, but also I'm glad that with Phoenix we can help organization with our knowledge on how to fix those basic things and how to mature step by step.
Intelligently focus and scale the basics. I love it. All right, Francesco, thank you so much. Have a great rest of the conference here at OWASP AppSec in Lisbon, and thanks everybody for listening.
Thank you very much. Enjoy and stay safe. Goodbye.
We hope you enjoyed this episode and that you will come back for more brand stories on ITSP Magazine. If you want to share your company's brand story, go to itspmagazine.com and explore our advertising options to learn more. Remember to share this podcast with your friends, family, and colleagues, and stay tuned for more brand stories as we continue our journey toward redefining cybersecurity, technology, and society.